Okay, this is 6B for the Maple TA homework. So number 1 through number 4 have you find 4 things: the mean, median, mode, and range. So the mean is the average. You add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers there are. The median is the middle number, so you need to put them in order from least to greatest first. Then if there are 2 middle numbers, then you take the average of those 2 numbers. Then the mode is the number that occurs the most. And like I said in the 6A video, it's possible to have no mode, and it's also possible to have more than one mode. And then the range, you're going to take the biggest number, and then you're going to minus the smallest number. So biggest number, subtract the smallest number, and that will be your range. So if you'd like to see the mean, median, mode worked out, I'd watch the 6A video because I go through how to do that for a set of numbers. So the next one I want to talk about is number 5, and it's the 5-number summary, and then we're going to make a box plot. So the first step is to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So we're going to start 23. I'm actually going to scoot this over here. So 23 is our first one. And then see if I have any other 20 numbers. So I've got 28. And then 30, and then 37. Looks like I've got 2 37s, and then a 39, a 43, and a 44. So once they're in order from least to greatest, let's double check that I've got all my 8 numbers, which I do. So the minimum number is going to be 23. It's the smallest number. The maximum is going to be 44. And the median, the number in the middle, we're going to have 2 middle numbers. So the average of those 2 is 37. Okay, so now the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So let's look at the lower quartile. We're going to look at the bottom half of numbers. If there's an odd amount of numbers, you're going to leave the middle one out and not include it in either. So you want the quartiles to be equal. So let's look at this one. The lower quartile is going to be the median of the lower half of numbers. So the median here will be 29, between 29 and 30. The average of those 2 numbers, or sorry, between 28 and 30. The average of those 2 numbers is 29. And then the upper quartile, let's look at the upper half of numbers. So the upper half, we're going to do 39 and 43. So you need to find the average of those. So add them up, divide by 2, and we get 41. So this is our 5-number summary. So if we go through and do the box and whisker plot, if I have my number line here, let's say we start, let's go by 5. So 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. And you can also do a box and whisker plots the other way. So your number line could be like this, where you have the box and whisker plots looking like that, somewhere there along the line. Okay, so let's actually bring this down to 20. So we're going to put a dot. We're not going to do it on the line, but we're going to do it above the line for the minimum, and then a dot for the maximum. So I did the minimum at 23, the maximum at 44. Then I'm going to do a line for these 3 numbers, a vertical line. So I'm going to do a line for 29, a line for 37, and a line for 41. So this is going to be my box, and then these are going to be my whiskers. And then that's all you have to do for a box and whisker plot. So back to what I was saying with if you have an odd amount of numbers, let's say another number we had in this was 49. If we were doing the upper and lower quartile, we would take these numbers for your lower, these numbers for your upper, and you would just ignore that 37. It would not be included in the lower or the upper. So keep that in mind for numbers or for sets that have an odd amount. Okay, the next one, number 6. So two things, we need to find the standard deviation, and then we need to estimate the standard deviation using the range rule of thumb. So the range rule of thumb says, let's do that one first. So you find the range, and then, let me get my cursor working again. You find the range of numbers, and then you divide it by 4. So if we go through and find the range, the biggest number, let's see, is going to be 36, it looks like. And the smallest number is 4.15. So we're going to do 36 minus 4.15, which is 31.85. Then we're going to divide this by 4. And then we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So you'll get 7.96. So remember, this is just an estimation of what the standard deviation is. So for the standard deviation, there's actually a lot of work involved with it. So we have to go through for every single number. So to do the square root, and then for every number, we've got to do 36 minus the average, which I think is 21.3, and we got to square it, plus we have to go through and do this for every single number. 4.15 minus the average. So the average, I just added up all the numbers and divided by how many there were. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I believe. Then we're going to divide it by how many there are minus 1. So we would divide it by 9 minus 1. But we have to continue on and do all of this until we get to the last one, which is the 9.75 minus the 21.3 squared. So that's all the work for the standard deviation. So it takes a while. We could go through the whole thing, but the reason I'm not going to is because your book teaches you how to do it in Excel. And I know that once you guys see how to do it in Excel, you're not going to want to go through this again. So I'm okay if you always do it in Excel. Remember that you can use Excel on your tests as long as it's a blank version. So this would be a blank version. There's no, if you look at the bottom, I don't have any sheets open. I don't have any formulas. All I did is I went through and wrote the numbers here. So I wrote all the numbers, and then you go to any other cell and you do equals, and you do ST for standard deviation, and then it'll pop up. Then you do a parenthesis, and you can type in A1, comma, and keep going. But what I like to do is I like to just go over and highlight all of them, close parenthesis, hit enter, and there's your answer. So I have 9.767, so 9.77. Okay, so the whole point of standard deviation, if we go through and put all these numbers in order from least to greatest, we can say that most of the numbers are within one standard deviation of the mean. So if the mean is 21.3, we can say that most of the numbers, so more than half of the numbers, are within one standard deviation of the mean. So if we take 21.3 and add 9.77, we get 31.07. Then if we take 21.3 and subtract 9.77, we get 11.53. So we can say that a lot of the numbers are going to be between these numbers. So let's go through and see which numbers are between those numbers. So we have the 23.4. We've got this 20.25. So as we can see, a majority of the numbers are between that one standard deviation. Okay, so if you have any questions on these problems, let me know. The next two problems, it's hard to go through those without giving those away too. So look through those and then let me know if you have questions on either of those.